Let's actually go... No, this is fine. So, I'll start with Bagel. And for starters, this is going to be covering not Koth strategy, as in, you know, what do I do in this type of situation? What's a 4-man? When should I 4-man? When should I pressure point? Stuff like that. It's not going to be covering that, Koth strategy. I did a separate video on Koth strategy specifically. You should check out if you have those types of questions. This is more how strategy applies to Bagel, how the specific positioning goes, what type of plays to make on Bagel. So, first things first, we're going to cover the callouts. Now, of course, you have spawn. There isn't really a name for the spawn. Yara is kind of still spawn. You, of course, have left, main, and right. Right side actually sometimes gets called boiler because of this. Usually I call it like lower right or lower left, depending on, you know, if I'm attacking or defending. Main, I think, might also have a different name it can go by. To be clear, this is also a main. In which case, I don't know if this is called secret as well. In any case, left side, you have lobby. There's left lobby, which lets out into main. And this is concrete, this whole area. And then we're at the point. So I like to call this kind of walk up from lower right valley. And then you have the vents as well. This is a call out because soldiers might like to hide up here when you're trying to approach. What else? Of course, we have the point, and then we have both houses, left and right. This is why casting this map is so difficult, in my opinion, is because like so many of the callouts are just directional. So like, what do you call it when action is happening in this house? Like, do you call it left house or do you call it right house? I don't know. The houses actually are kind of distinct. Like this one has a generator type of deal in it, whereas this one has water. But yeah, everyone uses left house or right house or some shorthand thereof. Of course, you have the back doors of each, although that's not a back door. That's just left. That's a back door, and then this is a back door. You have the point. I guess you could call that the nipple as well. This little roof I like to call slant. And it's, you know, somewhere you can look over to spam point at. What else? The point itself has lanes, of course. You have, you know, right lane, left lane. And then these little balconies looking from the houses onto point. I suppose you could call left or right balcony or left or right window, maybe. Something to that effect. The stairs, I guess, which might be carpeted sometimes, so worth having a call out for. But I think that's about it for the callouts. The bush can have traps in it as well, something to keep in mind. Yeah, I think that's roughly it for the callouts. So let's hop back to spawn here and talk about the rollout. So, the combo is going to just be rolling out left side to concrete. Really straightforward. And as a demo, you do the same rollout as well. Just something like this. And you're usually topped off after that pack. And yeah, basic rollout. This is a rollout, as with any Koth, that you do a double roamer rollout. And what I mean by that is you buff both soldiers rather than your pocket soldier does like the static damage to themselves and gets a bow after. No, they are both just getting buffed at the start of the rollout, and then you just beam your scouts the entire time. As far as pocket rollout, it's probably just through left side as well. And then roamer, you can roll out here. I've actually seen some inventive rollouts where, like, if you hit a speed shot there, then you can, like, get into right house quickly and maybe get some spam on their combo as they're approaching. But by and large, I don't know the soldier rollouts too specifically, but roamer's going to be rolling out right side, and pocket's going to be rolling out left side. With the rollout out of the way, let's talk about positioning. Just basic positioning on like even Ubers. No specific game state, just standard stuff. So as a demo, since that's the class I'm on now, you want to be pretty central to point. You are going to be focusing on the point and playing the point mostly. The houses are things you can shoot into, but you're unlikely to be playing in them ever. Maybe your combo's pushing through it for whatever reason. But you're mostly playing around the point. And you have a lot of room here to just kite around, get aggressive or get passive. You can kite up concrete side if you're taking damage if you want, or kite into valley, depending on where your heals are. And when people are aggressing point, you can absolutely get aggressive over point as well. And up to like here gives you like fantastic spam without too much risk. And then maybe if like a super collapse is happening, by all means just walk fully, but you can still get fantastic spam from here. Same for right lane as well. It can be nice spam. That's only something you'd be doing with pressure, but this is also just a point where throwing sinks over the point can get a lot of value, and also carpets can be quite nice. Just like leaving those sticks, and someone might just, you know, if there's like a bunch of sticks over here that the demo has been shooting over, and I'm just thinking that they were being single dead, and oh, I'm just dead now. So yeah, shooting height as well, just important things for a demo in general. And stopping the cross if they're trying to cross point. But yeah, you're just playing point, normal stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of ammo management. It's going to be a lot of taking damage. This is probably the highest damage taken map for a demo, just because you can kind of eat spam from everywhere. So it can be kind of tough. But yeah, as a demo, this basic positioning where you can play the point, do all the stuff you need to do. As a medic, I'm not going to switch to medic to demonstrate this, but same type of positioning, just like a step back. So you're more focused on avoiding that spam. You don't really need to have fantastic vision or fantastic spam lanes like a demo might. You can kind of just chill back here, heal them up. You could duck out main if need be, duck out valley, or you could totally be playing concrete sided as well. Get some nice high ground. You might be able to heal your pocket soldier a little bit more as a result. But yeah, this type of area is quite nice. Now let's get on scout, since we'll finish off with the combo here. Okay.
Scout, calling here.
So, as a pocket scout, early into a round, like for a mid-fight, oops. Vent can be quite nice, just to get a lot of nice vision. You can see everything. You can deny any type of bomb that's trying to come your way, and you just see everything. Once the point is cappable, however, and the mid's over, you are very much in the trenches. This isn't a map that Scout has the luxury of playing high ground too often. I suppose this is like some local high ground that can be quite nice, but a lot of the time, a pocket scout's job is to be playing the point and capping the point. So where a demo might be here to just shoot at the players on either side or shoot across point, etc., a scout is going to be much closer where you don't have as good vision to be either capping the point or stopping them from capping. Because if they're capping on this side, right, and you're just like chilling here, and your demo is making sure that no one crosses into you, you are doing a fantastic job of denying their effort to cap. And this is a point that caps very quickly. So even just stalling for like the extra seconds will add up over time, as long as like you're capping back faster. So yeah, point pressure is very nice, and you can totally be committing a cross point to get at players that your demo damages. Focus on stuff like that. And of course, you are still a pocket scout, so you do have to worry about soldier bombs, as usual. But it's actually like a little tougher, I suppose, because you are just playing the floor a lot on pocket scout. You can jump. Oh, I thought you could jump. If you can't tell, I like don't play much scout. You can jump. Double jump into the houses to help out, or play the point as well. Jump on top of it. So there is high ground you can play, but when it comes to actually playing the point, whether that be denying or capping, it's oftentimes on the floor. But you can totally rotate over to help the houses. Yeah, that's pocket scout positioning. Still very much dedicated to the point like a demo is. Now let's talk about flank scout, since I'm already on scout. Flank scout is very, it's again an opportunistic role, but flank scout is often like opportunity cost, I guess. Meaning, like, you can't be everywhere at once, but you can help out with everything. So you could be helping out left house if you wanted to shove left house with your soldier playing left house. You could be playing right house to be shoving the flank with your soldier right house and try and 1v1 the soldier here. And from there, you can do whatever, play point, get behind, yada yada. Or you could just be playing point. Second scout on point can be very valuable. Likewise, just jumping in between stuff on top of point, just all this good stuff. You have a lot of free reign as a flank scout, but in order to be effective, you absolutely have to be working with your team, because just a flank scout running around like a chicken with her head cut off is not really going to do anything. They're probably just going to feed. But a flank scout that is like applying pressure or opportunistically committing, like in the right pressure points alongside their team, is going to be very deadly. So it's definitely team coordination, just understanding what's going on and communicating with your soldiers so that you're all on the same page. Because, yeah, left house shoves and right house shoves are oftentimes just like the lifeblood of Bagel. It can be hard to make stuff happen on the point without making stuff happen in the houses. Okay, now let us get on Soldier to talk about this class. So, as a soldier, let's do Roamer first. And my jumps are going to be very bad. Oh my god. Maybe not that bad. But yeah, they're going to be very bad. As a roamer, you're going to be sustaining yourself off this pack and maybe even that backpack if you really need it. But you're just going to be playing the right side. You can play slant for spam. You can, if you want, shove this guy. You should really only be shoving house if your flank scout's with you. This is a play that really should just be a 2v1. Probably not recommended to just 1v1 shove a house. And I suppose you have, you know, some bombs at your disposal off this height. You can definitely do it better than me, but yeah, stuff like that. If yeah, it's really just about exploiting the house, and you do have to watch it to some degree. You can be spamming this, but you do have to keep an eye on that back door. Make sure you know, stuff's accounted for. But yeah, it's a lot of playing spam, a lot of just playing that right house, shoving it opportunistically with your flank scout. And if the house isn't being watched, you can totally get behind through it. And from here, either just like straight up commit on their combo, or get even further behind into lobby to maybe like recommit out main or lower left or wherever. Yeah, that's the basic positioning on roamer. As far as pocket goes, pocket is a lot more, it's like more baby city than roamer is, because generally the way Bagel works is you expect to have control of your left house and not necessarily the right house. So you can see like this is a nice wide doorway to approach and some nice high ground just at the entrance, versus this is like a windy and low ground path. You're going to eat a lot of spam if you're trying to enter from there. So as a pocket soldier, or just a player holding left house, you have the advantage. And that same thing applies in reverse, where they're going to have an advantage over me if I just try and like take this fight, because it's like that low ground and just so confined. So as a result, your pocket soldier is going to be largely just controlling left house. Fantastic spam from there as well. But they are going to be shoved sometimes, and you know, you definitely want to be living when that happens. You can sustain yourself off this pack. And when your left house gets shoved, that's a big deal. That's something your team needs to pay attention to, usually with a flank scout rotating over to help out. Maybe your combo scout's closer and they rotate over because your flank scout is saying like, no, I can just play point. You go. Stuff like that, just team coordination stuff. But yeah, when left house is taken, you definitely want to retake it, just to have control of it, because you know, you can spam point so effectively from here, and just do a lot of things. Now, left house is not unshovable if, let's say, their roamer is dead and they're still trying to fight, then by all means, you can absolutely be shoving that, bombing into them, or just bombing behind. If an opportunity presents itself like that in either of the houses, then you should absolutely seize it. I would say Bagel as a map is very much defined by its aggression. Like, sometimes the best defense is really just a good offense. So even if you have the point, even if you have those like later spawn timers, it still might be a good idea to go for aggressive ideas like house shoves. Just because it's throwing wrenches in their plans and making it harder for them to cap the point. Now, you don't have to be going for that nonstop because you don't need to cap the point. You don't need to make things happen. But when the opportunities present themselves, don't shy away just because you already have the point. So yeah, that's Pocket. Going to be kind of the bulldog holding left house, whereas Roamer's going to be kind of more opportunistic, trying to do whatever they can right house, and yeah, just playing spam for both soldiers. Okay, I think that's all the classes covered. So let us talk about, what would we talk about next? Let's talk about a mid-fight. So I already mentioned like scout on height, just playing spam. Well, not mid-fight specifically, but just things that you do to make stuff happen. So on Clear Cut, it was a lot of soldier engagement, whether that be bombing soldiers behind or bombing into the other team with aggression across point, or a roof shove as well. Just stuff that gets the game moving, so it maybe gives you an opening to pressure the point, which is what you're looking for in a mid-fight, I suppose. Or when you don't have the point and want to make something happen, instead of just sitting around burning down their clock. So on Bagel, that's pretty much just house shoves, is, again, the lifeblood of this map. It's very difficult to just make things happen across point, because there's just a guy in here that can help stop that, you know? But shoving right house is kind of a go-to for a lot of teams. Getting the flank scout and roamer over here, just, man, I would not be a good roamer on this map. Just committing onto this guy, trying to get that pick, at the very least forcing them away, which gives you the opportunity to start pressuring the point. Same can be said for left house, of just trying to shove this so that you can like maybe get your soldier really aggressive in house just for really good spam, in combination with aggression across the left side of the point. So I think like common wisdom about this map dictates that there is a correct side of the point to play as a combo based on like which house is being controlled. I think by and large that makes sense. Maybe if, you know, you're shoving right house, it might make sense to get aggressive on the right side. I don't think that's gospel necessarily, honestly. A lot of Bagel just kind of feels like vibes and like intuition. But something to keep in mind, because I may as well mention that. Because yeah, if you are shoving left house and your demo's over here just getting rolled by this soldier, then that's definitely going to be less effective than if they actually like peeked the other side of point. Okay, what else? Talked about house shoves. You can bomb soldiers totally just across the point, usually like on top of slant. That's fine. You can even like double bomb soldiers on this mid. That totally works. It's definitely like riskier, I'd say. It's just like much more apparent versus sometimes like a house shove. Like if a soldier successfully shoves house and is like bombing from backdoor, that's harder to anticipate versus like a bomb you can see going off. But it's still a totally fine strat. Yeah, so like house shoves and bombs are like the big thing. Yeah, house control is just like what this map really boils down to. House control and like aggression. Okay, let's get back on demo. Feel more comfortable in that class. So that's what you should be doing as far as trying to make stuff happen. And of course,
Demo calling here. I need your help.
on a map like Bagel, the best way... So when you have control of the point and you're just trying to burn time, you really only need to just stop their efforts and what they're doing. But sometimes it feels like the pressure can kind of just be overwhelming if you're playing just passively and just, playing too reactively. I think Bagel is a map that very much needs to be played proactively, where even when you have control of the point and even when you don't want, well, even when you just, your whole game plan is to like wait out time basically, still doing things actively is a good idea. Just because it's presenting the opponent with a problem that needs solving, instead of just giving them all the time and all the resources to do whatever type of point pressure they want. Likewise, the lower spawn timers, help this as well with, if you go for a play and then you just trade out a player or even lose a player, like they're going to be spawning pretty quickly. You don't get punished as hard as you would on a product or a clear cut by losing a player when you have the point. It's not as bad. It still sucks, don't get me wrong, but it's totally still like playable. So yeah, still making aggressive ideas happen. Like if a house is shovable, absolutely you can still shove that if you have control of the point, as long as you're just like playing together as a team. Because if left house isn't being watched and your pocket wants to go for a play, then that's totally a good idea. But if you're like already down a player, then maybe it's not so good an idea anymore, because you don't want to risk going down 2 and just losing the point straight up. So yeah, that was just a little aside about how being proactive even when you have control of the point is a good idea. What else? Let's just talk about disad. So as with any Koth, you don't have to play disad unless they actually have the Uber. So if they do have ad but don't have the Uber, if your med is good at tracking Ubers, then they can totally be playing their normal positioning and just healing these players. Just playing normal as if Ubers weren't on the table. And only when they're about to get, so think like 80, 85%, then you can back up to your disad positioning, which is going to be main. This is generally where you want to be leaving when it's disad, and just getting out with your pocket scout. This is a map where 4-mans are very powerful, because there isn't a very strong anti-4-man positioning other than just leaving. And the very short spawn timers means that sacking on Bagel can kind of just happen whenever. So let me give an example. Let us say it was, let's say it's disad. It's disad, but they don't have yet, right? But they're kind of close. So let's say they're at like, 60%. So they're going to get somewhat soon. We'll say 70. So they're going to get somewhat soon. You try to shove a house, and okay, they have control of the point. You try and shove a house and you lose a player for it. In a situation like that, trying to cap the point against the team that's about to get Uber when you're down 1, that's probably not going to be very successful. Okay, why don't the remaining 3 players just send a sack right now? Not a time you would expect a 4-man to happen, but it just kind of happened where like, okay, the guy died. It's all about the alternative, right? The alternative is like to wait until they spawn, or even in that case, you'd be waiting just to approach in 4-man anyway. But regardless, if the alternative is like to wait for spawners, and you're going to be waiting the same amount of time, then you may as well just sack, because you're going to catch a lot of people off guard as a result, and you're not going to be wasting too much time because the spawn times are so fast. So in those times where suddenly like, oh shoot, we just lost 2 people, like we're guaranteed to like lose the point and have to get forced out, etc. Okay, why don't the remaining combat just sack right now? Because you might get the med. You never know. You might get a trade. You might get a kill that makes them stall the point so that they don't deny their spawners for another couple seconds. And all that is like, any small benefit is going to be worth it so long as you are doing that play fast enough that you can approach your next fight at the same time. Because it was always about that spawner anyway. So if you can catch the same spawn wave or just one spawn wave after, then you're not really waiting any longer, and you just suddenly got like a huge benefit of like a demo trade or a force or something, just kind of out of thin air. So stuff like that will absolutely add up over the course of a round. And finding those opportunities where maybe if something goes bad and your alternative is waiting, you're just better off sacking right then and there and getting your heals out. So yeah, going for 4-mans on Bagel is very good, and doesn't always have to be just the cookie cutter, okay, they have ad and they have Uber and we don't. We have to 4-man type of deal, which, to be clear, you still want to go for in those situations. The same kind of 4-man logic applies where, let's say you have, like, if the objective is playable, then you can totally just play the objective. So let's say their heals are really far back and they don't have control of the point, they're anticipating a 4-man, then by all means you can just cap. And then only when they start recapping and actually commit their heals forward, then you go for the 4-man. And if they never do that, then you're totally happy. You can like even out those Ubers. Likewise, if you have control of the point, then maybe just play the spam game for as long as you can and try to stall that point for as long as you can, while the whole time, of course, your medic not being caught to an Uber. Because worst case scenario, it doesn't really get anything, and then you can just like send your 4-man pretty much immediately, like same time you would have anyway. But best case scenario is you like waste some time on point. Maybe you even like get a pick because they were expecting it to be free and then it wasn't, and then like there was resistance they weren't expecting. So yeah, the normal Koth 4-man point pressure meta 50-50 type of deal still applies on Bagel. But that's 4-mans. And I should point out like med caught positioning as well. Any medic that's forward, like any further forward than stairs, is probably caught to an Uber if your demo is like bombing fast enough, because you can kind of trap off behind them. Nice little like low and fast crouch det is a good way to get that done. Likewise, as far as like concrete goes, any med probably like past this line is going to be caught to an Uber as well. Yeah. So if you identify a med position like any further forward than this, or any further forward than stairs, then you should probably look to catch them. And as far as lower or valley goes, yeah, like even in this doorway, like sometimes you can get caught, but where I'm at is like definitely caught and take that. So anything like a med, any of these positions, absolutely just like you need no other plan than to just take the Uber and kill them. Unless it's like you're literally 2 up and you have no one to take the Uber. But for basically every situation, like just catching those meds, backing up, and then just preserving the ad. Like, congrats. You just not only won probably like 40 seconds in the time they have to build that Uber before they can like adequately pressure point, but you also just like took the Uber ad that you currently have and just put it deeper into the future with you having less time on the clock. So only good things can come from that. That's really what you're looking for with Ubers, is just killing the med. Of course, getting like 3 or 4 picks is fantastic, and like you'll take that. But med is really, it's hard to beat killing the med. Okay, what else? One thing I didn't mention on the 4-mans is that it's really important to identify where they're positioned, because the med could be playing to leave concrete, they could be playing to leave main, or they could be playing to leave valley. And if I am a demo, you know, let's say we approached concrete and we're all healed up, we're ready to 4-man. If I'm a demo bombing and I like bomb over here and I'm the med's all the way over there, right? It's very important, and that applies to soldiers as well. They could be anywhere on this map, so like pinpointing where they're at and communicating during the 4-man where the med is at is going to make it more effective. Okay, let's talk about the approach, how you approach the point after you've been, you know, pushed out. Generally, you want to go concrete side, because it can just offer some nice high ground, and you're just kind of already here ready to pressure the point, and it's like left-sided for the house that you should have control of. Lower right can totally work as well. It's just a longer walk up, and yeah, for that reason, concrete is usually nice, especially like from this. We'll go to our own spawn. From the spawn as well, I think. Left is just like a shorter route oftentimes. I don't know, they could be the same. This does not apply to a forward hold, which I suppose we can talk about now, actually. Yeah, let's talk about the forward hold. Bagel is a map that you can forward hold pretty often on. As long as you have both soldiers in a demo, you can pretty convincingly forward hold. Maybe if you're down 2 scouts, you don't want to. But down a soldier, so like demo soldier, you can do like a pseudo forward hold where you're still there and you maybe can even buy time for your soldier to show up. But you can at the very least get like very nice forward spam. So as far as a forward hold goes, there's 2 setups. The first setup, which let's do the like meta setup first, is demo holding lower left with traps, and there's all sorts of traps that you can set to catch players off guard. Yeah, there are a lot of traps you can set for the lower right pressure. And yeah, you're just hoping to hold this door. A lot of times just having traps on the door and just having a good reaction time to get that pick on the first player through is kind of the best way to do it usually, but you can have all sorts of sneaky traps to get picks, and your whole point is just to try and get a pick, and then suddenly like it's hard for them to get through the doorway. You can spam them out as they enter as well, and usually playing in front of main, like in this general area, is nice because you are further from the door than the alternative, which would be backdoor. But backdoor, you have to back, like if they get through successfully, which first and foremost, like you are kind of in danger as like an immediate target. A lot of times soldiers will just skip through to land on this pack. They could totally just be landing on you and getting damage on you. But if they do get through as well, it's this long rotation where you can't shoot at that at all until you're actually like in a position where you're safe and can do something. Versus if you are by main, you can have various degrees of like commitment and continue to spam them on the walk up, which is nice. You do have to worry about a player shoving main though, but that's where the other side of the forward hold comes in, and it's going to be 2 soldiers here. Could be 2 soldiers like peeking into this door itself, or a soldier there and a soldier like over by main. Maybe if well, there's just so many things you can do out of the forward hold, because let's say they shove like lower left, you could be bombing a soldier into them in the doorway, or just double bombing the doorway. That's totally something teams will do, and it can be quite successful if you're not anticipating it. But to the demo in front of main point, you should have vision and know if someone's going main, and you can go help your demo out so they don't die to it. And beam is going to be on concrete, primarily healing the soldiers. But let's say your demo gets really weak, you can just turn an arrow and be totally happy. So that's kind of the meta setup with demo trapping left side. Can be very nice just because it's hard to get past traps without at least risking someone dying to them. And if the demo is adequately deading, then you can just rinse and repeat, just kill a bunch of people as they try and get through. This can be a very brutal forward hold to get through. The alternative is basically flipped, where you have demo holding right side with any number of traps you want to set up, including on the doorway itself, and then soldiers left side. Oftentimes soldiers like even in like backdoor can be quite nice. I guess the idea here is that so this is kind of like a TF2 metaphysical question, is like you are presented with a small door and a large door, and do you want 2 soldiers holding the small door or the large door? Well, demo is better at holding doors for sure, so it makes some sense to have the demo in the large door, just because like he's going to do a better job of holding it than like a soldier would. But with 2 soldiers, a large door is actually like kind of better for them to hold than a demo. Plus a small door a demo can like super lock down in a way that a soldier never could. So all that's to say that you're basically having like an iron grip on right side and like fantastic spam left side. The trade-off is like you aren't gonna be expecting as many like instant picks as you would on a demo left side. It's more so just like solid spam. So if they played the spam game correctly, it might be easier for them to get through. Usually teams will just default demo holding lower left. That's what I default as well. But mixing it up as well is very nice because let's go to the next point, I suppose, where we talked about trying to get through, or like the approach, assuming no forward hold. If you ever identify that they are forward holding with the double soldier concrete, then you absolutely want to rotate lower right and just get through the traps by bombing a soldier through, spotting, clearing the traps, etc., and approaching from here. That's just going to be easier than trying to like crunch your way through concrete. But it can be like hard to tell what's going on, especially if the forward hold is like switching, where maybe like it's a team that has particular trouble against the double soldier. And also, I should mention, the double soldier, like a soldier could just be close as well, to just spam that out even more, as another one's like maybe further back. Whatever. So switching it up can make the team confused about how they should be approaching it versus going for the exact same forward hold every single time. They can learn to play around it and adequately deal with it. What else about forward holds? Another thing is in the standard type of forward hold setup, with your demo left side trapping that, shoving the other side is very powerful. Because if their flank isn't adequately watching right lobby, then you can absolutely get like your roamer and pocket scout through, or excuse me, flank scout through, and just collapse on them here. And I've seen like even advanced teams will have their flank in the wrong place and doing the wrong thing, and they will just wipe there, which is the absolute worst case scenario if you're trying to get through a forward hold, is you just straight up wipe. So yeah, all this rambling is to say that forward holds are very powerful on Bagel and very dynamic. Anytime you recognize as a situation you can forward hold, absolutely go for it. And if you practice forward holding and get good at it, especially against teams that aren't equipped to handle it, you will be able to win rounds off the back of just a single forward hold that went on for like a minute and a half. Yeah. So that's the forward hold. I already talked about like busting it so far as you generally just want to go lower right. Make sure your flank is actually watching left lobby and bomb the soldier through, get past the traps, and then just approach. That's what you're looking for, but if you're like losing a player here or eating too much spam there, then suddenly it becomes much more difficult very quickly. So just make sure you're on top of your stuff. Okay, what else is there? We've talked about house shoves, getting players behind in house is good. Committing players from house is good. I think. I mean, we could talk briefly about like the point itself. I guess that this could be like my closing thoughts, since nothing else is coming to me. What about off classes? Off classes are bad on Bagel. Don't use them. Sniper doesn't have any good sight lines. Plus, if they have a sniper, they're probably giving up a house to do so. So take advantage of that. Spy works in the same situation I mentioned on Clear Cut, where if you want to go for a 4-man and someone got like a super early spawn, as in they have time to get in position as spy for the 4-man, then yeah, it can work there. Engineer sucks. Pyro is actually like low-key good on Bagel, but don't play it. Don't be that guy. No, Detonator gets a ton of damage, and Point can be hard to play against Pyro, but Pyro's just a bad class. Yeah, off classes aren't very good on Bagel. So I guess my closing thoughts will be about just like the point itself, just the quirk of Bagel. This point caps very quickly. The spawners are fast, the point is fast, so it's very easy. Well, both teams are going to be just losing players back and forth. It's just going to be a slugfest, right? Aggression is key, just giving them problems so that they can't give you an unsolvable problem is kind of the name of the game. Just making things happen and coordinating as a team is very important on Bagel. But with all that being said, it is very easy on a map like Bagel to just get caught in the weeds and get dragged down into the mud with just all the chaos that's happening. Because there could be fights happening in both houses and across point, and everything's happening at once. With a point that caps so quickly, you can take advantage of like very, very marginal advantages to convert into a cap. An example I gave on the clear cut review was like, if you, let's say your demo just spams out their demo, you see like their demo eats 2 stickies and surfs them back here, takes like 120 damage. That in and of itself, just that one play might be enough space and enough spam to completely cap this point. So above all else on Bagel, if you are focusing on this objective, and if you are the team that can take advantage of that demo being spammed out to get the point, but on defense, or rather controlling the point, you can hold it in those situations, you're just gonna win, with all else being equal. So being able to focus on that point and make your decisions based on the state of that point, if you have to give it up, that's fine. Just fast recap it, stuff like that. Just definitely focus on the point, because that's really all that matters in Koth. All the house shoves and all the chaos and all the aggression, that's all a critical part of Bagel, but it's a critical part because it helps the point be played adequately. So just keep that in mind. You're not shoving house just to shove it. You're not shoving house just to wipe the other team, although if you do, that's great. You are shoving house because you get to cap the point now if it works. So always just keep that in mind. With that, I think we're going to finish off. We got all the Koth out of the way. I don't know what maps I even have left to cover. I'll have to look. But yeah, hopefully that was informative. It got very rambly. I don't have a method down for Koth like I do for 5CP of just going like from one end of the map to the other. It was kind of just like all over the place. So I apologize for that. Maybe sometime in the distant future I'll get like a solid, I don't know, a solid theory going with like a script and yada yada. But for now, this will have to suffice. So anyway, that is